What's good, my friends? My name is Noah Munoz. I am currently 22 years old as of recording this first episode. By the time this podcast actually sees the public light, I'll probably be the ripe old age of 23. But if you have no idea who I am, which most of you probably do, as much as I would like to think that I have a fan base, I'm willing to bet that 99% of you know me personally in some capacity, whether you're a coworker, a friend, a student, whatever the situation may be. But in the off chance that you have no idea who I am, again, my name is Noah Munoz. I'm 22 years old. I am a artist. I'm a mentor. I'm an agent, a graphic designer. I'm a lot of things. But here, I will be your host in navigating this podcast called The Pursuit of Us. I had a lot of ideas for what this podcast could look like because I love podcasts. I love listening to them as background noise to get nuggets of information. I think they're very insightful. When I get tired of my music, I'll turn on a podcast. So I thought it would be cool to do something in the realm of what I do for work. That being, I am an agent / mentor for a company called Student Success Agency. So you're going to hear me talking about SSA a lot, and that's short for Student Success Agency. I'm very proud of the work that we do in this company. I have a very rich history, I guess, with this company. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but I have history with this company, which I will get into. I have students that I work with. My best friend is someone who I met through this company. I have the best coworkers in the world. It's gotten me some incredible opportunities, and I believe in what we do so much. So I would be remiss if I didn't take this type of opportunity to talk about what I do for work. This is doing something like this is not necessarily in my wheelhouse, but that's kind of one of the main points and takeaways that I would like to convey in doing this podcast, because it's something that I enjoy and I would like to add to my resume. So I'm taking the steps to step out of my shell a little bit, step out of myself, and be a host, because I'm very introspective and introverted, and quiet. I'm an artist. I like to express my thoughts and how I'm feeling through carefully articulated writing or words or pictures. I like to draw pretty pictures. So kind of just being a personality off the cuff is something that's new to me, but again, that's something I would like to work on. I was thinking about the direction that I wanted this podcast to go, and I thought that if this was a resource that I could send to my students, that it would be good, because one of the common things that I find when working with these high schoolers is that we kind of always don't really know what we're doing. We have an idea sometimes, and some of us have more of an idea than others, but this is our first time kind of doing anything in life, This is our first swing at life and figuring things out. So it's confusing. It's hard, it's stressful, but there's also some really cool things that you pick up along the way. So that's kind of the point of what I want to highlight in this podcast, is navigating adulthood and finding who you are through the perspective of young people, because there's a lot of older people you can find online talking about this kind of stuff, but I feel like it's valuable to hear this kind of stuff from someone who you can relate to. And the intention is for this to go to my students, so naturally I kind of want young people to be at the helm of this project and share their experiences, so that way my students and any other young person out there who listens to this can have someone that they can actually relate to in these types of situations. Anyways, I love how I said I'm introverted and I'm introspective, and I've been yapping for 6 minutes. This is great. I wanted to have this first episode be kind of low key and just kind of like, if you're gonna be on this journey with me, let's get to know me a little bit better. So I asked my followers on Instagram just to ask me some questions about myself and about what I do, and kind of whatever they wanted to ask about me that I can answer on the podcast. So this first episode is very low stakes, kind of low key. The first question comes from my former boss, the former head of agent success at Student Success Agency, Justin Cyrus. He's now in sales, so he no longer is my boss, but he's just a amazing person to know, if that makes sense. Like, his energy is incredible. He has the best personality. He's an incredible mentor and leader, and I've learned so much from him in the 4 years that I've known him. So I'm very grateful to have a Justin Cyrus in my life. But his question is, what is Noah Munoz's superpower? And, you know, it's interesting because, for context, I'm re-recording this episode because it's August right now. I recorded the first episode back in like February of this year, and just because I feel like currently I'm at a different place in my life mentally than I was back in February, and I feel like my answers to some of these questions are different. And also, the first episode was shit, so I was like, I have to make a better one. Not saying that this is a huge step towards a better product, but I think you get the idea. Anyways, my superpower, and I think I was just at a summer camp for SSA, and we were working with students, and they were very long, stressful, emotional days for us. One of the conversations that I actually had with Justin on this particular day, I was very exhausted, very emotionally exhausted. I had just kind of in a episode of feeling so much gratitude for what I do in my job and for being there with students and meeting so many people who I've looked up to and love so much. Had an episode where I just could not hold myself together. I had talked to Justin about something we were supposed to be doing that week, and I started breaking down again. And one of the things that he had told me, it was such a nice moment with him, because the week had been so busy, but that was a moment where I could kind of just like stop and be present with him, and have that conversation. But he told me that one of the things that he enjoys about me is my ability to love people and to have connections with people, that it's like a palpable thing that you can see in the connections that I like to make with people. I'm not always good with words, but it's, I don't know, through the actions, I guess, conveying my gratitude for people and things and experiences, my ability to love things, I think, is my superpower. I don't know if that's corny, or like superficial sounding, but I really think it is. And I don't know that there is, maybe there is, but I feel like that is something unique that I offer in the relationships and experiences that I find myself in, is how intensely I am able to love people and things. Yeah. The next handful of questions actually come from a former student now, Eric Estes. He asks, what made you want to start a podcast? I kind of already said it at the beginning of this episode, but there's a lot of things that made me want to start a podcast. One, because I feel like in my head I have a lot of conversations, because like I said, I'm take a shot every time I say introspective, but I'm introspective. So I'm like constantly examining my own thoughts and kind of having like ongoing conversations with myself in my head, but not always expressing them verbally. So partly because I thought it would be interesting to see how I do in this type of setting where I have to verbalize my thoughts instead of keeping them all up here in my head. And also because I knew that I wanted to have a platform like this that I could share experiences with my students, use it as an additional resource to hopefully help some of my own students, or maybe some other young people who could benefit from something like this. The next question is, what do you love most about SSA? Too many things I love about SSA. It's, I think, just the fact in itself that I am having a podcast kind of centered generally around SSA says how much I enjoy this kind of work. I've always been interested in leadership positions and leadership roles, and kind of being at the forefront of stuff like this, because I enjoy leadership. I love the community aspect of things like this. And again, being at summer camp, just like I've never in my life been around such an overwhelmingly positive group of people. You know, we all have our hang-ups or whatever, and you know, every personality is so vastly different, but the one thing that was so insane in the best way being there was how much everyone there is so dedicated to the type of work that we do, and just how willing everyone was to show up every single day and be 100% present every single day, because these were long, stressful days, full of things to do, with very little sleep in between. But it could have been very easy to have started to kind of like harness negative feelings towards a lot of the situations that were happening. But there was not a single moment all of camp that felt that way, because everyone was so happy to be there and so happy to serve our students. And that's one of the things that I love so much about this company. I know that's true for all of the agents and people who weren't able to be at camp. They feel the exact same way. So to be part of a work community like that is, I genuinely don't know if I will find it anywhere else in my life. I hope I do, but I'm like, I just feel at my age too, 22, I'm one of the youngest agents in the company, I believe. I just feel so incredibly lucky to be doing what I do, and that's one of the things that I love most about it. The next question is, if you could relive any year of your life, one, would you? And two, what year would it be? This is also an interesting question that my answer has kind of changed to within the last few months. And it would probably be 2023 would be the year that I relive. I've been very open about it on social media, kind of with my family. It's something that was very, very present in my life. I was dealing with a lot of mental lows in the year 2023. I ended up dropping out of college. I was very depressed, I think is the best way to put it. And I was like a shell of myself for a majority of the year, which is sad because there were so many other good things that happened that year that I feel like I kind of didn't fully get to enjoy because I almost wasn't allowing myself to. And if I had the opportunity to relive those experiences, I believe that I would, if I was able to have the lens that I currently have on it. But I guess that's kind of the interesting thing about, here we go, being corny. That's the interesting thing about life in general. You learn from those types of experiences, and maybe that's the point, is to not get a second chance at it, because everything happens the way it does for a reason. The next question is, which artists have been most inspirational to your art journey? I follow a lot of artists on Instagram. I love art in its many forms. I love music, musical theater, cosplay and costume making, and photography, cinematography, drawing, fine arts. I love so many different things, and I feel like a lot of it is conducive to the type of art that I like to make. That being said, I don't necessarily have like one or two artists who are like my idols. There were some Renaissance artists who I would frequently get compared technically to when I was in art school, because my tendencies when I draw resembled that of some of these other artists. I couldn't tell you who they are now because I don't remember, but I like to do very bold graphic stuff that's like colorful and comic-y and fun, I guess. I love the Spider-Verse movies. The art style of like the newer Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, stuff like that is very visually appealing to me. So Patrick O'Keefe, Alberto Mielgo, artists like that, obviously, because of those projects, are people who I very much look up to. But I think there's so many things to pick up from so many different areas. Anything can provide inspiration. So I don't know if that's a good answer, but it's mine. Someone else asks, how do I avoid getting burnout while doing my creative work? And this is something that I'm kind of experiencing currently. I'm kind of in a burnout from drawing and creating stuff in general. And I think the key to not burning out is understanding what your limit is and not letting yourself get to that point. I know it's kind of hard to do that when you're like face down, buried in your work. You're just kind of going, and before you know it, you're burnt out. But I think that's where it's good to take a second to kind of pull back and understand, like I said, where your limit is, so that way as you start to approach it, you can slow down, or whatever the case may be. I know that it's a little different when you have all these projects lined up and you have deadlines you need to hit, or you're in school and you have projects that you're trying to get done. So like in those cases where it's kind of like life or death that you get these projects done, and like you're losing sleep, I guess maybe that's when you take a look at like time management skills as opposed to anything else. But I think knowing yourself is the best way to avoid burnout, and sometimes it's inevitable, and when it does happen, it's okay to know that like I'm gonna take a break and step away from this for a second, and when I come back, I can continue doing what I was doing. Like, it's not like you burn out and then your like powers have disappeared forever. You can take a break and pick it back up when you're ready, and that's usually how I feel I manage burnout. The next question is greatest high school achievement. If you know me personally and have known me for a while, you kind of know what my greatest high school achievements are. And I was the president of my class all 4 years of high school. And my senior year, I was also the student body president. I value leadership positions, like I said, and the ability to lead my class like that is something that I took a lot of pride in. People would, I don't know if it was unironically, but it felt that way, would call me Mr. President in the hallways and stuff, which, as they absolutely should have. No, I'm just kidding. But I was very proud of everything that I did, and it all ties back in because of my involvement in student council and in school. I was selected as one of the handful of students to try this new little program that was new to my school district, that program being Student Success Agency. And had I not been as involved as I was, I would have missed that opportunity to join SSA as a student. But because I did, and because I was able to be part of the few that got to do this program, I was a student, and then I got to graduate out of the program, turn around and immediately get recruited / hired to become an agent, and here we are 3 years later. So it's crazy how it all works out like that. But yeah, like I said, my involvement in high school is something that I'm forever proud of, because it taught me a lot about myself and about professionalism and just how to conduct yourself in situations like that. So yeah, and not to mention, it was just like the best time. Like, I frequently would joke about and say I have no idea how I graduated, because I feel like I was never in class. I was always out doing something. So it was a good time. It was fun. I loved high school, and I feel like people think it's corny to say that, but I genuinely did. I had the best time. And if you were me, if you were him, you would agree with me. So the next question is, in the past, did you plan to do anything different than what you do now? Yes and no, because I knew that I wanted to be doing something like what I'm doing now. Like, I knew I loved being a leader, and I knew I loved creating stuff. So in the back of my head, I was like, if I have the ability to do anything similar, I'll be happy, but I didn't really have a plan on how to get there. So now, being 4 years since I've graduated high school, having the opportunity to do both, I'm very happy about that. So I didn't have a plan, but I kind of ended up where I wanted to be. So that's, I guess, the best case scenario. And I think that's attributed to the fact that I've kind of always been like going with the flow and not being overly prepared for things, but not just kind of sitting around and letting things pass by, if that makes sense. Like, someone passingly told me that I should run for class president because I was going to run for secretary. And I was like, you know what? Just because you said that, I'm going to. And then I ended up winning. And then I was like, oh, okay, now like I have this huge responsibility to do. And I was the best at it. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna lie to you, but I was good at it. And I ran uncontested all 4 years after that. So same thing with joining SSA. We got the letter in the mail saying that we could join this program. I was like, sick, I'll do it. Because like it's free. Like, what else am I gonna do? It's the middle of COVID. I'll do it. And then now I'm one of the top agents in our company, as said by our CEO, EJ Carrion, not mine. I believe that for myself, but it's just like the cherry on top that it comes from people like him. The final question is, what made you become a mentor at SSA? And again, I feel like I've kind of answered this, but my life experiences leading up to the time that I joined SSA kind of made me want to do something like this. I just didn't know where or how I would get into a job like that. But I think one of the things that I constantly attribute to me ending up where I did in SSA is the relationship that I had with my agent. His name is Matthew Gottlieb. Had it not been for him, and had he not given me the experience in this company that he did, I probably wouldn't have wanted to turn around and apply to work for the same company. You know, I was one of the students who I didn't necessarily need too much from him, because if I want to do something, or I set out to do something, I will figure it out myself. That's just how I am. But he was able to meet me where I was and still provided valuable insight and support where I needed it. So I'm grateful for him and everything that he was able to do for me, because again, it all connects and it all goes back. It's like full circle almost. And here we are today, recording this podcast, talking about life and where we are. But that's all the questions that I have. Like I said, this was just one big yap session with myself, but I hope that you kind of got to know me a little bit better if you didn't already know me or who I was or what I'm about. Yeah, I don't yeah. Where do we go from here? Next week or next episode, I will have a guest, and I will try to have a guest weekly-ish, just kind of talking about different stuff. Like I said, every week I kind of want to cover something that is relevant to navigating adulthood and finding your place in the world. And this, I guess the takeaway for this episode is learning about me, your host, and the importance of how things connect. You know, if I didn't do one thing, it wouldn't have knocked over the rest of the dominoes to have me end up here. So yeah, one of the things that I always tell my students in similar situations is everything that you're currently doing is like a build up for the thing that comes next. Because if you are in an internship or something, or you're doing something, anything really, that is in the realm of what you want to do, or like if you're trying to find a job somewhere or go to college or join a trade, if you were working hard now in school to pull good grades and to have a resume or go to work after school and show up on time and be a good employee, that will show when you apply for your next life venture. They will see that, oh, this person is a good student. They are prompt. They are a good employee. They are, they've done good work in the past, so we can give them this opportunity because we could trust them. And it's like a continuous cycle. Everything connects is today's takeaway. Thank you for listening to Yap session number 1. I hope you enjoy, and I hope that this is insightful and useful to the people that want to listen, because it's been a process to get this going. You'll probably hear more about that later, but it's been a process, but I'm excited to make it happen, and I hope that in hanging out with me for 30 minutes to an hour, you get something out of it. But yeah, friends, we will end it there. That's pretty much all that I have, so join me next time, and I think that is a good place to end. So peace out, my friends. Join me next time. I hope you are well, and thank you again for listening. Peace out.